everyone, and welcome to Tel Tales. Welcome to episode 3 of my podcast. I'm calling this one My Funny Valentine. Just in case you didn't know, I'm a touring rock musician scooting about all over the UK and Europe, playing gigs everywhere. You can find details about my shows, tickets and grab CDs and things from my website, which is chantelmcgregor.com. You can see live videos and all sorts of behind the scenes daftness over on my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, YouTube, etc., as well as downloading my music and this podcast on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere else. So here is my third podcast, and I'm sort of getting into the swing of things a little bit. I've listened to your lovely comments, thank you so much for all your feedback and for tuning in, that's really kind of you. So I've taken on board that a few people have been struggling with my Yorkshire accent a tad, and I'm going to try and speak a little bit slower. Personally, I think Yorkshire is perfectly understandable, but then again, I think they were from Lancashire. Ooh. There's a thought. Maybe I should start giving Yorkshire English lessons. So this month's podcast was going to be about Valentine's Day, with it being the month of love and all that. But being an eternally single singleton, I figured I probably wasn't qualified to go on about how great Valentine's Day is. Well, that, and I didn't have enough nice things to say about it to fill a 20-minute podcast. So then I thought about the things I love. Well, we all know I love music, and the next month's podcast is a music one. It's a very serious music one, actually, and scarily. And we all know I've got an obsession with cats. Yep, evidently I'm a scary cat lady. And I think you might get a bit bored of me telling you about my cat Sprinkles for a whole 20 minutes. And she actually doesn't do much other than sleep and get knocked off with the fluffy farm cat that comes into the garden and gets attention from the catnip mouse dangle stick that I lean out of the window with, while everybody goes mad at me for letting the heating out. So I delved for my other loves, ale, which will come into another podcast very soon because I've got something very exciting happening on the beery front, and pizza. The whole world round has a love for the most delectable dish, pizza. So I'm going to delve into the world of cheesy, carby heaven. But first things first, let's get the Valentine's history mush out of the way. So that's a collective we, not a me we celebrate the feast of St. Valentine every 14th of February. It was supposedly a religious feast to start out with. Maybe that's where the chocolate comes into it. It was a festival of romance and love. Nowadays, it's more of a festival of supermarkets selling red and pink tat in the name of love. Apparently, there were strong connections with the fabulous English poet and author Chaucer. Now, my fond memories of Chaucer at English A-level were more to do with slapstick comedy and a miller's tale of misguided love. If you do know the miller's tale, you'll know what I mean about misguided. If not, read the Wikipedia notes on it and you'll get the drift. And didn't they have censors in Chaucer's day, or was it a case of the censors couldn't read? I do have another really good connection with Valentines and pizzas, and it's not just that I utterly love them. A pizza the action. Over in Chicago, the North Side and the South Side, 1929, the Irish and the Italians were the South Side ones because it was the sunny side. So a massacre happened in 1929. They put 7 people up against the wall and shot them, which is pretty inappropriate really with it being Valentine's Day, hence the St. Valentine's Day massacre, which isn't exactly all about love if you're going to go around shooting people. So the irony of it all is that allegedly Al Capone was behind all that, and he got done for tax evasion, and being Italian, that's pretty fair. Because the guy who invented accountancy, a bloke called Pacioli, he was Italian as well, but that was a lot of years earlier. So anyway, he invented it. Al Capone got done for it and sent to jail for it. So that was pretty much the end of his gang days down there, wasn't it? Anyway, Pacioli. According to my dad, who's the font of all rubbish, was an Italian mathematician who sort of became the father of all accountancy. His world was filled with double-entry bookkeeping, debits and credits, so basically what you pay in and what you pay out. I remember my dad used to teach me this stuff, something about one nearest the window and one nearest the door or something. If he was the father of all accountancy, Capone was the godfather, wasn't he? Well, of tax evasion anyway. So that's Italian. I don't know whether they had pizzas in Chicago at the time, but maybe he was running the rackets for pizzas as well. Maybe it was the Sicilian topping that they used to put on them or something. Speaking of special days, 9th of February is America's National Pizza Appreciation Day, and Valentine's Day doubles up as Singles Appreciation Day. Back to Valentine's Day. I think St. Valentine was a Roman fella. Apparently, he got jailed for doing weddings for Roman soldiers or something, and helping out local religious people with the bits and pieces. But surely Valentine's Day is the day to honour the patron saint Flora. Well, I might have made that bit up. It might just be the patron saint of florists anyway, because everyone goes and buys flowers for their delightful darlings on Valentine's Day. My dad always says if somebody buys you flowers, they've clearly got something to apologise for. The only time he ever remembers buying flowers was when he was walking past a pub 40-odd years ago with my mum. It was young love at the time, and some bloke came out and says, "Will you give us a shilling for these? I need another beer." My dad understood his plight and coughed up promptly. He bought these plastic flowers from this bloke, and that was it. I don't think he's ever bought any since. He probably thinks they're still in the house somewhere, and why should he bother if we've still got them? Well, that was probably the only time apart from when I've seen cheap reduced flowers at the supermarket and snuck them in the trolley, and he begrudgingly buys them for my mum. He's the sort of bloke who'll buy you a burial plot and never buy you a present again because you haven't used the last one yet. Flowers. Most people treat their lovers to roses. I don't really know why they're the flower of love, but being from Yorkshire, they've got a special place close to my heart. Being from the white rose country and all, and Lancashire being the red rose country, over at Till, which I'll explain about when I do a podcast on how to speak proper Yorkshire like what I do. I'd rather have tulips. I know they're Dutch, but historically, tulips were used as currency. And I'd rather have money than flowers. It doesn't wilt, and you can buy the things that you truly want with it. Why they used tulips for currency, I have no idea. Maybe it was people exchanging not flowers, but promises of flowers, and they used that as money. This goes back to, mid-17th century. And there was that much money being spent on tulips, it was a bubble. Not like a soap liquid bubble, an economic bubble. So basically, people were buying flowers and then the market crashed. So this makes tulips from Amsterdam dear probably. So in reality, tulips were the original Bitcoin. Something that someone thought, we can pretend this is worth a load of money and actually it's worth nothing. But because people perceive it's worth something, it suddenly makes it worth a lot. By the time I can afford any bitcoins, they'll all be worthless anyway. So if anyone wants to send me anything for Valentine's Day, or if you missed it and feel like backdating it, I'm not bothered for the roses or the tulips, they all die off anyway. I'm not fussed for bitcoin, but a winning lottery ticket won't go amiss. On to supermarkets. Valentine's cards everywhere. Vile bears holding love hearts that look so cute in the daytime, but by night time they turn into these evil, blood-dripping, fanged, murderous gremlin bears that actually rip your heart out, solidify it, and turn it into the love heart that they're holding by morning. Well, in my mind, that's what happens. Think I've watched too many horror films. And also marked up chocolates and rosé wine that's grim for the rest of the year, but labelled as blush for the month of February, and we're told it's beautiful. Back to the Valentine's Day cards. My parents don't send each other one, and I'm a real Bridget Jones singleton, so as far as I'm concerned, you might as well just hold on to that bit of mistletoe that we talked about at Christmas. Hang it somewhere and wait until the 15th of February and then bin it and save yourself a load of money. Apart from that, you can't eat Valentine's Day cards. That's where the pizza has the advantage. It's not that romantic, but you can sort of chop out a bit out of the top of it and make it look a bit like a heart. But the way to a woman's heart with pizza? I'd say it's the way to a midriff bulge. And buying your person of interest a 12-week countdown from Slimming World will not get into your lover's good books. What you actually want to buy 'em is chocolates, preferably dark ones, because we're told they're healthy every other week in the newspaper. Maybe even the ones with spirits inside 'em, because we're also told that booze thins your blood a bit, and that's meant to be healthy. By the way, how do they get the liqueurs inside the chocolates? And how many chocolates do you have to eat to get a little bit tipsy? So you want the way to my heart. Forget the mistletoe, didn't work at Christmas. Forget the supermarket card and flowers. Forget the pizza. It's all about the chocolates. That's what a woman truly wants. Posh chocolates and a decent glass of wine to go with it. And the only other thing is a night in on her own to devour 'em. So I tried dry January for 2 and a bit days. That's how long the headache from New Year's Eve took to subside. I got to the 3rd of January and I had some London dry gin, and I classed that as dry January. I also did veganuary for the day. I had a jacket spud and beans. Apparently, this February, it's all about detox, which totally ruins my chocolates for Valentine's Day theory. So what's going to be next? I reckon it's going to be Sextember. Everyone's going to give up sex for September, and all the midwives can have a holiday in June and July. On that note, back to pizza. It allegedly originated in Italy around the 10th century as a savoury dish traditionally made with a round flattened wheat-based dough and topped with tomatoes, cheese and other ingredients, which was then baked at high temperatures in a wood-fired oven. It's not that dissimilar nowadays. However, there is word that the ancient Greeks used to make this bread with oils, herbs and cheeses. Back to Italy, but not Al Capone and his cronies. Legend has it that the contemporary-style margherita pizza was invented in 1889, when a royal palace commissioned a pizza maker, commonly known as pizzaiolo, to create a pizza to welcome the visiting Queen Margherita. She loved the pizza that was made in the colours of the Italian flag: red for tomatoes, green for basil and white for mozzarella. Many people have doubted this theory, but I've not got a better explanation to give you. Enough about the history of this delicious mortal. Let's get down to our favourite part: eating it. Whilst my mum was pregnant with me, she used to crave ham and mushroom calzones from Amir at Driglington's pizza shop in West Yorkshire. That might explain my addiction to pizza. Now, Amir was a lovely bloke from Iran originally, and he used to spin these magnificent circles of soft and stretchy dough through the air like a ballerina's tutu. I remember once he threw one at me to catch and spin as I was being carried by my dad. Now, my coordination skills were just as bad then as they are now, and the giant disc of dough went flying through the air and ended up in a squished up mess on the floor, destined for the bin. I always wondered how Amir magically knew how to make the dough circles exactly the same size and depth every time. Back then, when I was a young girl, it was simple. A pizza was the dough, tomato base, mozzarella, and if we wanted to get really exotic, a couple of toppings: ham and mushroom or pepperoni and chilies, always with a sprinkling of oregano. Now there seems to be more options for pizza than configurations for a Rubik's Cube. Do I want a 9-inch, a 10-inch, an 11-inch, a 12-inch, a 14-inch, a 16-inch? Square or round, barbecue or tomato sauce, low-fat or full-fat cheese? Any combination of about 100 toppings? It's like turning the TV on and trying to choose a show worth watching. And that's before you even think about the super-thin traditional-style Neapolitan pizza versus the squidgy-deep pan Chicago-style pizza, or even being tempted by a crimple crust pocket of gooey cheese, tomato, ham, mushrooms and oregano, the calzone. All of a sudden, my Italian takeaway has gone international. Can I go to Italy and get a pizza with doner kebab chicken tikka fajita chicken on it? Even our local pub is doing pizzas with courgettes and avocados on them. Sounds like a very confused pizza to me. Trying to be healthy with the antithesis of healthy for the rest of the plate. Does it just cancel out the pizza calories if you put an avocado and some vegetables on it? Is this traditional or just our modern ways of trying to make us feel better about eating something with over 1,000 calories in it? To be fair though, pizza can be slimming. I go into a pizza shop and I go, "Excuse me, instead of cutting it into 8, can you cut it into 6 please? I'm on a diet so I can't eat 8 pieces. Thank you." Also, I've heard that hospitals feed them to patients with infectious diseases, so it's possible that a pizza has got medicinal properties, or maybe it's just the only food that they can slide under the door. By the way, how many Italians are living in Hawaii to make a British pub chain devote a whole pizza to them? Which brings me on to the contentious subject of ham and pineapple pizza. I love it, but so many people find the idea of warm pineapple on a pizza repulsive. I've never been to Italy, but I've been to other countries with similar climates, and I don't think pineapples are a natural fruit to Italy. Is this the same as our nation's favourite traditional curry, the chicken tikka masala, which originated when a bus driver ordered a chicken curry after his shift in Glasgow had finished? He considered it to be too dry, so he asked the chef to do something about it. So the chef popped some tomato soup and a few dry spices into the dish and returned it to the customer. The bus driver absolutely loved it. He brought his friends back to try the dish and the restaurant added it to their menu. And the rest, they say, is his curry. Sorry, history. So is traditional food becoming appropriated to our taste buds, and in the case of pizzas, is this the domino effect? Which takes me back to where I started with pizza. I thought about this whole podcast while staring at a pizza takeaway menu and realising that there are just so many choices, so I've decided to go for a thin base, half covered with barbecue sauce, half covered with tomato, with Mexican chicken, ground beef, onions, gherkins, anchovies, chorizo, Cumberland sausage, green peppers, ham, green chilies, mushrooms, pepperoni, pineapple, smoked bacon, corn, tuna, oregano. That's just on the barbecue side though. The tomato side, I'm just going for ham and pineapple. It's not my fault, they've just given me too much choice. Anyway, like so many people tell me, size matters. You can work out for yourself the cost per square inch of the various sizes of round pizza. But if it helps to work out the comparison to a square pizza, the square one is 27.27% bigger than a round pizza. Which then gets me to my next question. If everyone's oven at home is square, or at least rectangle, why do supermarkets make all of their pizzas round? Just think of all that space that they could save on the shelves and all the packaging materials that could be saved with square pizzas. Just makes more sense. Also, when was the last time that you managed to cut a round pizza into perfectly even slices? Answers on the back of a full pepperoni and jalapeno Domino's pizza box to me, please. Another random thought. How do pizza manufacturers know how many children you've got? How can they make and market a family-sized pizza when they don't know how big your family is? Or is it a case of, as your family gets bigger, that's in numbers, not clothes size, then your portion gets smaller? I keep seeing in the newspapers and on TV the correct way to eat a pizza. Allegedly, in Italy, you should eat the whole pizza to yourself. These pizzas are called personal-sized pizzas, not to be shared across a table. Apparently, the etiquette for pizza scoffing is if you're eating it as a starter or a sharer, you cut it into slices and eat it with your fingers. But if it's a main course, then you use a fork and knife and eat it the posh way. I usually just see what everyone else is doing and follow the common table etiquette. Then that takes us on to the fold. A New York fold is a U-shaped fold from the crust. This supposedly stops all the toppings from falling off. I used to think this was ridiculous and it didn't taste as good. Although now I'm getting a little bit more older and a little bit more clumsy, it does seem a little bit more sensible. Tales have it that this method originated from people walking across New York and multitasking, munching on a giant pizza slice. It also stops the toppings from scorching the top of your mouth. I've also heard of the pizza wallet, where you fold the pointy end of the slice towards the crust. But is this not just a self-made mini calzone? So back to Valentine's Day and pizzas. How to create the ultimate passionate pizza for your other half. Chocolate pizza, of course. I've seen a few places now that have been advertising various combinations of sweet and savoury. We all know the age-old debate of pineapple on pizza, which I'm all in favour of, by the way. But what about the pizza base, coated in chocolate spread, sprinkled with various fruits such as pineapples, apples, bananas, and drizzled with melted marshmallows? To be fair, that sounds fairly decent to me, but then again, I'm the person that likes peanut butter and chili jam on beef burgers. Anyway, who cares how you eat it and what's on top of it? How can there be a traditional way to cook and eat a food that isn't traditional anymore anyway? Have a lovely Valentine's Day and tune in at the start of March for my next podcast. The next one's a bit of a serious one about the music side of what I do, so please do tune in. It's not boring, I promise. I've got loads of tour dates coming up as well. Please check them out on my website, and if you do come to a gig, say hello. And until March, adios from Tel Tales.